Coming live from Atlanta, Georgia, USA is our guest tonight. Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Dan Howington, founder and CEO of Five Forges Training and Development. And we'll be talking about why we are happiest when we serve. And it will include a whole gamut of things about life, work-life balance, and work. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you, AJ. It's my pleasure to be here. Look forward to our discussion.
Right, Dan. Thank you for joining us. So, Dan, you help people reignite their passion, recover their confidence, and rediscover their joy. And even if somebody has lots of money and he feels that he has got a lot of things accomplished, and still, even if he is winning at work, but you ask them whether they are losing at life and are unhappy and dissatisfied and are living some another life. So which you ask in a manner is, whose life are you living? What do you mean by this? Let's start from here.
Okay. No, I really think it's powerful. A lot of people I talk to, they talk about success and they talk about happiness. And when you really get down to it, they're pursuing what they believe is success and happiness. And often we form our beliefs by those that we see. And so the role models we have in our life, they may have decided that material possessions make them happy. They may have decided that titles in a job make them happy. They may have decided that a certain level of financial freedom makes them happy. And it's really a very individual thing, as is true in a lot of cases, right? We have to form our own relationship with what success means for us. And we have to define what happiness means for us. And it may or may not be working 45, 50, 60 hours a week. It may or may not be owning your own business and going out and sort of chasing the brass ring and accumulating material possessions. It may or may not be that. And in most cases, as we mature and as we grow, as we have some success, we find that really giving back and growing as a human being is really where we're happiest. It's really where we feel we have value, when we're positively impacting the lives of others. And it's a very powerful, cognitive truth that we learn, is that when we are giving back, when we are helping others, we are closest to our divine ideal. And that's a concept that's worth a discussion too. At some point, we'll talk about that. But that's what we do, right? We help people define what it means for them, and then readjust their goals and activities to pursue it.
Right, Dan. So you say that you have found many people do not have the clarity on what happiness and success really means for them. So it means the people you are talking are generally successful people, and they should have been happy people. Such smart people who have achieved so much success in work, and you got enough security for themselves in terms of financial success. Then why is it that they are not able to figure out the happiness part of everything as they along the way? Why is it so difficult?
It's interesting, but I think our biggest challenge is relationships with other human beings. And so when we neglect those relationships, they often become where we don't know them very well, right? And so you'll find people, when they focus on things, then they're not focusing on people. And when you get out of touch with the people in your life and the people around you that matter, it's either you have an epiphany yourself, or life will give you an epiphany. Life has a way of smacking us upside the head and reminding us of what really matters. If we don't do it on our own, if we don't realize on our own, I've checked all the boxes. I own this kind of a house. I drive this kind of a car. I make this much money. I go to this place on vacation, and I go, I give my parents great Christmas gifts and my kids great, other great material things. But when we don't connect with people at a real level and understand what makes them happy and how they're motivated and what they like to hear and what they need from us as a friend or as a parent, even as a peer, as a colleague, we're missing out on the true meaning of why we're living our life. If you could be on a deserted island by yourself and have all these material possessions, what does it gain you? And then, it's the joy that we get in sharing ourselves and being authentic and being vulnerable is really one of the greatest meanings, I think, of being happy. you know and you can be successful. You cannot be successful if you're unhappy. Let's put it that way. You can be financially successful, but you're not going to be a complete person. You're not going to be content. You're not going to remember what brings you joy until you can reconnect with those around you and repair really and optimize, if you will, those relationships that you have and understand other people and what they need from you. It's a powerful psychological um, fundamental thought, that we need to work on, in my opinion, in my experience in working with people. Yeah.
Right, Dan. Right. In fact, now you see the other part of it, that you say that after 35 plus years as a professional consultative seller and sales leader, which is a tough thing, about human beings quite lot from the ground level experience, then you have come to believe that we are happiest when we serve. Now you
Right.
see the opposite part of it is that all through our lives we try and seek out something from the other. We seek out money from whatever transactions, even from relationships.
That's right.
And then in that process, we forget about giving, even in relationships. As you said, that in relationship, that's the biggest challenge for in today's time. And
Right.
then you also say that your experience is people are most happy when they give.
Exactly. That's one of the things we do. The company that I work with, Aslan Training and Development, I'm a certified partner for them, and I also do life coaching as a part of my interactions with sales executives and really any executives that are feeling burned out and kind of wiped out and unsure why they're unhappy. But with Aslan, the whole focus is on being other centered, and it has some religious foundation as well. You can go into a lot of religious texts and it tells you and teaches you some of those same concepts, right? But if you in your work, if you really are transparent with your motive, and your motive is to help the people you work with, then the aspect of where you get paid and you're successful, that will take care of itself. But if you are truly authentically focused on your clients and your customers and their success, and you listen and you understand their stated needs and their unstated needs, and you connect with them emotionally about what they're really trying to do, and then from your area as a subject matter expert, whatever you may be representing, there are multiple things out there. We all do commerce in different ways, right? So whatever you're representing, whatever your area of expertise is, if you're really trying to help that person, it's not dependent on a deal. It's not dependent on a dollar. It's dependent on that person feeling happy, trusting you as a trusted advisor. So when you have that kind of relationship, you're going to be successful in whatever it is that you're doing. Versus when someone contacts you and their motive is to get a dollar, is to get a deal, is to get you to sign up, to get you to close. A lot of the language around the traditional sales process is very selfish in the way we talk to ourselves as salespeople. And this is a whole new way of approaching selling, So it is. And it's, when you are, as an individual, when you are doing something you feel like is a higher calling and a higher way of serving someone, you're happier when you make a phone call. You're happier when you follow up with an email. You're happier when you're helping that individual become receptive to the fact that you can help them. So it's a different approach, and to me it's a very noble approach. It's a way of reframing the way that you go out and you win, because you're helping them, right? You're giving them something they need, and when they trust you, that's when everybody's happy, right? They trust you. You help them with your expertise. You provide a solution that works, and you've got a relationship, hopefully, that's lifelong for you.
Right, right, Dan. But you see, from our relationship perspective, we have talked that relationships are facing a lot of challenge. And if you look at relationships at work, there is so much of stress and so much of problems at workplaces. You say that we are most fulfilled when we remind others of their significance and importance. And
Right.
yet, every day we put down people, more talented people, and better people at work, and who are above. One can be better than me in so many things. Even in
Oh,
there are so
sure.
many great podcast hosts. I just may be asking a few right questions, so many wrong questions,
Right.
but in every sphere of life we find so many people better than us, and
Well,
a lot of people just go and put them down. Now when we know that we are going to be happy when we make them actually feel significant, being and important, we continue to do that. And there is this word called cancel culture. It's everywhere,
oh
on so
yeah.
especially on social media. So how do you see that? And then coming to the same thing, so that I'm asking two questions at the same time, so that you can put them, you take your time to answer.
Okay.
That people understand these things. It's not that you have to tell them, you are telling it now, but people have been speaking about such things from earlier on. People do understand that they have not done something right, and that they have actually done something which their conscience will always uh, tell them about, but they continue and they want to change. But then again, that is why I'm asking, why is it so hard to change, and when will they change? Is it after 60, or is there a particular age for it? So two questions together.
Right. That's interesting. So you started out talking about stress and our worry that other people are better than us, and then the way that we respond in a negative way, and we choose to tear other people down. I think Confucius said that all unhappiness come from comparison, and I find that to be true. It's really, you have to be self-aware enough to know that only you can only control yourself. One of the things that I share, besides this whole unhappiness coming from comparison statement, which I find to be very true, is the other aspect of it, that our stress level comes from trying to control things out of our control. And so we have to learn. I use a little acronym. It's called E plus R equals O. And that's event plus response equals outcome. So when we have clarity on our outcome, when we know what we want to happen, what we would like to happen, what would be the ideal result of an interaction or a process, whatever we're involved in, and an event happens, the only thing that we can control is how we respond. And so you speak about cancel culture. I truly believe if you deal with people coming from a position of love and respect, then what you say is loving and respectful. It doesn't mean that there's no hate involved when you question something. There's no,
Right.
there's this idea that if you say, I disagree with certain things, you know,
Absolutely.
personally, stepping out of the box here and maybe getting some criticism. I don't know, but I'm not hating anyone. I believe that our children should be left alone, to develop their own thoughts and let them live their own life for a little while until they gain some age, until they get to a point where they're a little more mature before we start making serious decisions about, their biological functions. That's my belief. That doesn't mean I hate anybody. That doesn't mean I'm against anybody. I love everybody. I just feel like that's something I believe in. And so I don't think you should get canceled for that. You should be able to speak up and say, this is how I feel. It's of concern when we start doing those kinds of things. So you have to have a degree of courage to stand for your values and your beliefs. And if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, is this saying too, right? So I think it's important that you develop your opinion based on research, that you're knowledgeable, and again, that you're coming from a position of love and respect, because that's where we have conversations, AJ. If you and I were to disagree, I love and respect you as a person. I'm honored. It's a privilege to be here speaking with you. And so I would listen to your position and try to understand how you came to it and learn from you. So that's what we have to get back to in society. So that's sort of a long answer to the first question that you asked. The second part of it, though, you were saying, at what point do people change? It's interesting. We've developed society in our society this idea that no matter how bad I am, I'm okay, that I'm okay no matter what. And I think, as we do that, we lose this ability to be self-reflective and to self-aware. If you are mad all the time, if you are frustrated all the time, if you don't laugh and dance and sing, if you're not filled with some joy and appreciation, if you don't see awe when you see things in nature and the beauty of nature and the world, when you look at other people, if you don't feel some love, those are things that should be red flags to you. You've lost yourself a little bit, and you need to go back and remember, what did I do as a child that gave me joy? What did I do when I was younger that made me laugh uncontrollably, right? And you need to recapture some of that. Most of the people I speak with have some musical ability or have some unfettered activity that they used to do that they loved, they really enjoyed. It could be dancing, it could be going out and playing in the rain, it could be any number of silly things that now we're too self-conscious to enjoy. You have to recapture that. You have to remind yourself, give yourself permission to bring joy back into your life and to be silly. And nobody's watching and judging you. And then if they are, you got to be secure in who you are enough to say, this is who I am, and I love myself. You mentioned making mistakes. You mentioned, kind of doing things, saying things against other people. Listen, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. Sometimes we have mean thoughts. Sometimes we have, we may say or do something we regret. Redemption is a fantastic thing when you talk about spirituality, and it's not limited to any one religion. And so when you recognize the mistake, when you recognize toxic or poisonous or negative behavior, and you take steps to, apologize for that to yourself and to others when you can, but mainly forgive yourself for that transgression, but identify it and try to eliminate it. And you do that a little bit at a time, So we're always working to get to our highest intent, right? To get to our divine ideal. And I think if we started with that in mind more often, as a father, for example, what would my life look like? What would my behavior as a father look like if I fulfilled my God-given potential? If I fulfilled my destiny as a father, what would that look like? How would that be different than what I am now? What can I do to get closer to that? So as we set that as our goal, we start every step, every word, every action we take. We want to move along the path that gets us closer to that ideal. So I hope that answered your questions. I'm probably more than you wanted, right? So
Yes, Dan, you have perfectly answered them. And so we will move towards solutions. What can we do about it rather than talking just about the problem? We have identified the problem. So now let's look at the solutions. Okay. But before that, Dan, is that you are founder and CEO of Five Forges Training and Development. First, what is this all about? And what is a sales leader doing here?
what is a sales leader doing as a founder of his own practice? Well, I'm one of those people. I got to a point in my career where I was not happy. The day-to-day interactions that I was doing, the work that I was doing, and really the management is another aspect I think in our
Right.
society we certainly need to improve on. You talked about stress. Good sales managers, they know their people, they connect with their people, they understand what motivates their people, why their people are working, why they come into the job every day. It may be that they have a special needs child that needs certain things, or it may be that my husband is a combat veteran and we've never really been on a great vacation, and he really wants to go to Hawaii, or he wants to come visit New Delhi. He's never been to India, or whatever the issue is. People have things that they work to empower themselves to do things they want to do. The
Right.
more you know about your people as a leader, the more you're able to help and support them. And that is your role as a leader. It's not to add stress, it's to remove barriers, right? We set very clear expectations of the results that we need, and then we make sure everything's out of the way. And then we go and we talk to our people based on what motivates them. And what we do as well is we diagnose where there are gaps in capability. So we pay attention. You know, we're the expert, we're the leader. I notice that when you go through discovery, maybe you don't ask enough questions. You don't take enough time to get to the real unstated needs. So I'm gonna help you address that because I want to make sure you can take your husband to Hawaii. You know, the way we do that is we look at this deficiency, not really, but you know, you're not as competent as you need to be in this area. So we're going to do some exercises together, and you get their agreement, and you work through that. So that's a leadership issue as we help people move forward. And what I found in my life, I was happiest when I was doing that, when I was
Okay.
dealing with people in that way. And so I took the Tony Robbins and Chloe Madonis, their life coach training, and I found that I could touch people and help people change their negative beliefs and actions and create new empowering beliefs and actions and move forward and become much happier. You know, it works in relationships with family and friends, and it works in relationships with husbands and wives and significant others. You know, there's three levels of those relationships. You really are not going to have a sustainable, loving relationship, excuse me, until you get where you're 100% committed to that person's happiness, and they are 100% committed to yours as well. And that's difficult because we're taught, you know, relationships are give and take. That's like horse trading. I'll do this,
Right.
you do this, you know, and that's not really unconditional love. That is not a true, transparent motive of loving that person, who they are, where they are, and how they are, right at this moment in time. No expectations for change. You know, you communicate what you need and what makes you happy, and if that other person loves you in that way, then they work to give that to you, and you do the same. And it's those are fulfilling relationships, you know. And so that's what I'm doing. That's why I founded my business in 2018, and is to help other people. I've always been positive. I've always been an optimist. I've always been a student of neuroscience and NLP and Tony Robbins, and so I had an opportunity to get trained under those guys, and it's really given me a lot of concepts and techniques to help others, and so that makes me happy.
Right, right. And right now, I feel very happy to see you happy. And also, there is something in the backdrop, it's such a wonderful place in the backdrop.
Oh
I
yeah,
can see some greenery, a lot of greenery, in fact. And there is something rotating on the table, if I see it from here correctly or not.
that's a
But it
fan. That's a
looks
ceiling
lovely. Yeah,
fan.
yeah. But it's a fan which is not on the ceiling, but it seems to be on the table or whatever. That's what I see from here. But it's making a lovely, a lovely thing for a person like me to look at it from far away from India.
Well,
And
I wish I could zoom in on that for you, AJ. I have a
it
log,
is
I have a log cabin, and it's on the shores of Lake Oconee, outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And I made a decision probably, I don't know. I built the cabin in 96. I moved out here full time in 2006, and so it really is a peaceful, beautiful place. It's right on the water, and I love it. Thank you for noticing and asking about it. Actually,
what else does a man want? You
and
want
well,
peace, you
that's
want
right.
happiness, you want contentment.
That's right.
Contentment, for contentment and peace, people have, wandered for so many years.
That's right.
Humans have been wandering for hundreds of years
That's
just to
right.
find this word called peace.
That's exactly right. Yes,
Is it?
contentment is an interesting word, right? So I think when we're younger, and this may be wrong, but I think that we yearn for noise, and we yearn for excitement and upheaval, and it's everything is a win or a loss, and it's like it's great or it's not, and as we get a little more sort of self assured, I think we look for places where we're comfortable and we are at peace and we can control our own environment. And so I'm very, very fortunate. I have a wonderful wife, and I have a wonderful life here, and I'm able to talk with smart people like yourself, and other people that are looking to be happier, right? And so It's good. Life is good, man. I really enjoy it. So
Good. You are practicing what you teach.
that's yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Right. So
Certainly,
let's
seeing others.
talk about others, about solutions, and
Okay.
about practicing and teaching them what exactly, how they can make themselves, their lives better, happier, and contented if possible. So, what are the simple things they can do right now to feel happier and more confident?
Well, I think if you can look at yourself now, I'm going to say this: there are options for people, right? You can read good books. There's several out there. Tony Robbins has several. There are several others. And if you actually um, do the exercises in a lot of those books, that's a good way to get started. You can find a good coach. Now, a good coach is not a cheerleader, but a good coach is going to talk to you about where you are and where you want to go. And it's identifying negative thoughts and behaviors and then creating new habits and rituals that instill positive thoughts and behaviors. And so if you have something you've been struggling with and you've tried often to fix it and you haven't been successful, I would suggest finding someone that will work with you. And specifically, when I start out with anybody, I use a survey from the VIA Institute. It's called the Character Strength Survey, and it's 24 strengths that we all have. It's all based on positive psychology, and it gives you an idea of what you do that you do well, so you can build on something that you know is a part of who you are, and it gives you some things to be proud of and to pursue. So when you're pursuing new things, you look for things that allow you to use those character strengths. That's one thing we do, and we start there. But really, I start by asking people, where are they emotionally? What is their right now? What is their emotional state? Are they angry? Are they frustrated? Are they mad? Are they happy? Are they apathetic? I mean, let's find out where we are first, so we know what we're dealing with, and let's talk about what we've tried in the past, right? And what kind of work we've done that's kind of determined what we need to work on. What is our priority? Where are our values? Where is our focus right now? So my emotional state is the first thing, their emotional state, sorry. And then what are they focused on? What are they looking at? What are they worried about? Why are they taking this step right now? What is it that has finally caught their attention and made them want to do something? And then secondly, what is concerning them? What is emotionally making them agitated, right? So, there may be an interaction with a certain individual. There may be something going on at work. There may be your reaction to a relationship in your life or a certain person trying to give you feedback. Whatever that is, whatever's happening, let's find out what's getting you emotionally wound up. And then also, what are the relationships around you? Your children, your spouse, your parents, your colleagues, your friends, your peers, who's in your circle of influence, and how are they? What are they doing? How are they interacting? What kind of an effect are they having on you? And then finally, we'll choose one small thing that we can start taking action on that day. One small thing, one small change that we can start taking action on that day. And then a good coach holds you accountable because you want to create meaningful change. I'm going to hold you accountable. I can't do that. I can't get you to create meaningful change unless you emotionally are bought into the payoff and you logically understand the steps. And often those steps are going to be a combination of physiology, because neuroscientists have found the body and the mind is way more intertwined than I think most of us are aware of. Our body begins to take action often before our brain even recognizes what's going on. And so it's important that we start to be aware of our posture. Are we smiling? Are we frowning? Are we sad? Are we negative? What are the words we're using? And what are we associating with this behavior? What happens is we're meeting a need in some way with this negative behavior. And what we've got to do is identify the triggers for that, and then we're going to replace some positive behavior to meet that need. And it's mentally and logically understanding, and then it's emotionally feeling the payoff of actually making that change. And that might be enhanced relationships. It might be your own self-awareness and your own being able to love yourself it was one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, and often one of the most difficult. You know, we're really hard on ourselves, and we have to learn forgiveness is something we have to give ourselves. It's a gift we need to give ourselves. But that's usually my process right there in a nutshell. Hope it made sense.
Yes, yes, it makes a sense, lot of sense, not only to me, but also for a lot of people who it should make sense to, and people who, uh, who want to change their lives for the
Yeah.
better. Now, talking about work, that there also the biggest change has to come, if I understand, because a lot of lives, families and their lives revolve around the work life of a husband or a wife, and if both are working or one is working, and you
Right.
have to build everything around it. And that is why the role of a leadership at work, that becomes very, very crucial.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, and that is
Absolutely.
why, as you say, leaders, as leaders, we must help others align and elevate first, then create a culture of authenticity and empathy with our teams and organizations. I would,
Absolutely.
yeah, things are good somewhere, things are not so good a lot many places. What would you tell the leadership who can actually matter and bring about the change that is required so much? What would you tell them? And people who are responsible for this but are not doing that at the moment, they are passing through their own pace of being a part of the cancel culture, or to create enough money for themselves and only money to regret later. We want, what would you tell them to look at others who are so dependent on them?
Well, the first thing I would say, if we're going to talk to leaders, I think these days the way to get the most out of your people is to show some empathy. And as a
Right.
leader, you really need to understand your people. And you people are not motivated by fear and stress. And you what you end up doing is you suppress an individual to the degree that they are robotic in what they do. And that is, I don't think if that's your company culture, your people are going to reflect that to your customers and your prospects. You want to empower your people. You want to make sure that your people are good at what they need to do, at the activities they need to do. And you need to be, in my opinion, transparent about what the metrics are that you're interested in. Whatever your expectations are, whatever your baseline results are, let's be transparent about that. And let's not talk about it like it's negative. I want people that are aligned with my expectations. So I want to be transparent with those expectations. And we're going to agree that these are reasonable, you know, and that when you do this, you will be successful. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you in areas where you need help. So as I'm going out and I'm trying to prospect and I'm struggling, maybe I'm a young salesperson, right? And I'm feel clumsy on the phone. I'm going to see that as a leader. I'm going to have a cadence call with that individual, and I'm going to ask them, what are you doing well? What's going great? What could you improve on? We're going to get to a point we agree. Prospecting is something we need to work on, and we're going to work on that together. All right, here's a couple of things I think you should try. Why don't you tell me a couple of things you think you should try? And we're going to go through some practice sessions. At the end of 2 weeks, we're going to get back together. How do you feel? Are you getting better? Do we need to do more on this? Let me listen to you go through a few calls. When you care about your people will care about your customers and your clients and your prospects. And so that's the kind of culture. It's still a results driven culture. Hey, being a salesperson is not easy, you know, but
Right, absolutely.
you're separating the person from the activity that's required in the role. I'm not Because you're struggling with these activities in this role doesn't mean that you're a bad person. And I
Right.
certainly don't think you're struggling in these activities because you want to. I think you want to be successful. So my job is to help you get better and be more competent at the different, roles or the different competencies that you need in that role, and then support you as a person, as a member of my team, somebody that I love and respect, somebody I uniquely value and understand. That's a whole different, to me, that's a change in our culture. And I will tell you that leaders that don't do that, that are harsh, that are stressful, that are demeaning, that are condescending, they're being identified. People will end up moving away from them, you know.
Right.
And to the people in your audience, to people listening, if you are in an environment where you are not valued and you're not respected and you're not spoken to with love and respect, and they're not looking out for you as much as you are for them, you need to find something else. Go do something else. Find another person that cares about you. Life is too short. Don't spend a year or 5 years in a place that is just grinding you down and taking away who you are. You deserve better than that. So find somebody that loves and respects you and work with them to be successful, where everybody is successful. And there are places like that out there.
Right.
I believe that.
Right, right, Dan. You have put it quite well. Now, about people who actually want to make change to their lives, about organizations who want to bring betterment to their work culture, how would they connect with you? How can they connect with you and take your help, assistance, engage with you? How do they do that?
Well, there's a couple of different ways. One, the most available probably is LinkedIn. It's just Dan Howington on LinkedIn. You'll see me. I don't think there's another one there, but hopefully you'll recognize what I do. And when you look at me on LinkedIn, and just message me on LinkedIn. But I also have an email for my company. It's Dan@5forges, and I'll be glad to engage. You know, I'll talk with anybody about anything, AJ. If, you know, my role is to help people. And so if you call me, the last thing I'm going to try to do is close you or sell you or anything else like that. I'm a trusted advisor. I'm a subject matter expert in these areas. I can help you with your sales team. I can help you with individual sales people. I can help you as a sales leader, and I can help your leadership develop habits and develop a culture of being other-centered towards your customers, your clients, and your team. So ready to help any way I can. Just reach out.
Right, right. For those of them who are so fearful or to take the right step, I can tell you they must look at the background, that you are staying in, and that fan moving. That's the time moving actually, and you still have time. So take the right step, and if that doesn't work, see the hills in the background. And it is such a wonderful scene to see. It also reminds me of my town, the place I spent my childhood, so far away from here, my home.
Oh, you go
With
back and
this,
visit. You need to go back
with
and visit,
this,
man.
yes, yes. I'm also working towards the same thing that you have already achieved, Dan. So
Oh,
let's see.
that's
I
great.
hope
You're
it.
still a young man, AJ. You've got plenty of time. I've
Thank
got
you.
a few years
Thank
on you, I believe. So
you. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much, Dan, for the
thank you,
wonderful
sir.
words.
Pleasure to speak with you.